Hey guys, today I'm finally going to be sharing my workflow on how I extract the dragon models from Spyro Reignited PC to Blender 2.8 and get everything working, the animations and everything. So what we'll need before we start anything is, of course, Spyro for PC installed, as well as Blender 2.8, which is what I'm going to be using, the version I'm using. And also, it's best to have basic Blender navigation skills because this isn't a tutorial on Blender, just how to get the models working in Blender. Now we're just going to have to get everything that we need to be set up. Okay. To extract the models, we're going to need a software that is called umodel or UEviewer. This is the developer's homepage, gildor.org. I'm going to link you straight to the page where we're going to be downloading umodel, but it's an older version of umodel, which you can find on GitHub. Any version of umodel that was published after October 21st, 2018 will basically break the rigs of the adult dragons for some reason. Or just the face, like the rig of the face. So the animations will be broken and it just won't be functioning properly. So what we need to do is download an older build. So anything October 21st, 2018 and older. And we're gonna go ahead and download. Just click clone or download and just download the zip. Okay. When that finishes, I will just extract it, in this case to my desktop, anywhere that's convenient for you. So umodel is actually all set already. Now we just need to get an add-on for Blender to help Blender support the model files that will be extracted and the animation files, because by default Blender won't recognize the files. So the add-on is called Blender 3D Import PSK PSA. It's the first link, and I'll just link this one. And on this GitHub page, you're not going to want to use the clone or download. It's better to just download the PI file directly here in the description for 2.8. I'm going to be using the current branch. You can download the one that says stable. I don't know the difference because I don't use it. So right click save link as, and you'll see it saving as a PI file. And save it to your downloads or wherever. Okay. And I need to get that set up in Blender. So I'm going to open Blender, head to Edit Preferences, Add-ons, Install. Now I'm going to go to my Downloads and install that PI file as an add-on. Okay, and you'll see it here. You just tick the box to enable it. And now you should have the option to import PSK objects and PSA animations from the main import menu, or if you press in, it added this tab here on the right to import PSK and PSA. I'm going to be using this one because it's visible all the time. Okay, so that sets it up and we're ready to start ripping. Alright, so it's time to rip a dragon. We're going to want to open the umodel folder here, or UEviewer folder, and launch umodel. This is the interface. It's pretty simple looking. It's going to ask you the path to the game files from which you want to rip. So in this case, it's going to be the install directory that contains the Spyro exe file. And you can browse for it through this if you want. It's probably somewhere in program files or something like that for you. Or if you're lazy like me, you could just right click a shortcut for Spyro, open its properties, and you see the start in section. You just copy the path there without the quotations, just the path, and just paste it on. So now it knows where to look for your game. Once that's set up, you tick override game detection, and you specify that the game is on Unreal Engine 4, Unreal Engine 4.19. Once that's set, you should be good to start checking the game files. Just click OK. Okay, so it's having a look at the files. You just have to now make sure to click next to Tools, Scan Content. Now it will scan through all the game content. Now it's done doing its thing, we can start looking for our dads. Head into, under Falcon, Plugins, Characters, NPCs, and behold, it's some dragons and also balloonists. And there's also more characters down the list from other games, but we're doing dragons today. So we just need to find a choice dragon. I'm gonna do Delbin. Just expand him, expand content, and check his files. You want to go to his mesh file and find the mesh that has a skeleton. You can tell by the 1 and also the large file size. Okay, so before I export, I'm going to set up a directory for it separate from the umodel folder. I'm going to end up wanting it to be inside of my external hard drive. And you can put this anywhere. You could just leave it by default if you want, but this is just me trying to remain organized. Okay, now I'm going to export Delbin. Alright, so he should be exported. Right quick, I'm going to navigate to that location. Video game models. Okay, and you'll see Falcon, plugins, characters, NPC, Delbin Dragon. So there's Delbin. Content again. And his textures and his materials came in alongside his mesh. Okay, but you'll notice that his animations aren't in this folder yet. What we have to do is head to his animations folder, and we have to export them individually. If we try to highlight them and do all of them, it won't work. It'll just do one. So we're just gonna individually export each one. So that's 1, and so on. He has many animations because he is in 2 separate homeworlds. Okay, so those are his unique animations. You'll notice that it didn't appear in his content folder here, and that's because if we head back to the NPC section, you can see it appeared in a folder called named Asher. This is because of I believe a common rig that the dragon is built off of, that Delbin is built off of the common rig for Asher. There's only a handful of rigs that are modified for each dragon, so the animations are named after that dragon's name. It's a little odd, but these are PSA files, which are animations. So I'm gonna rename this animations so I don't get too confused. I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna carry it over to Delbin. So everything is in one place, nice and neat. And in fact, I'm gonna also cut everything that I don't want, just for organization's sake. So I'm gonna bring Delbin straight to video game models and delete this extraneous stuff here. Okay, so now we just have Delbin and all of his data. And he is ready to import into Blender. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up Blender 2.8 and delete all my default stuff and press N, open this tab here, and import his PSK file. I'll just need to navigate to the appropriate folder. I should have made a bookmark for this, but that's okay. Oh wait, it's in my D drive. Okay, video game models, Delbin, mesh, and as you can see, he is huge. He is a very big boy. Okay, he's looking great. I'm gonna go ahead and right click shade smooth and just kind of change how he looks real fast. Make him a little easier to see. Okay, so there's Delbin. And bring back his overlays so we can see his rig. Now that he is in Blender, we're also going to import an animation for him. Before I import his animation though, I'm going to tick update timeline range because this will shorten the timeline to fit his animation length, which is helpful. Okay, Delbin animations. I'll do this great big long one, I imagine, because the file size is so long. Okay, let's hide his armature and see what he is doing. He is awesome. And this is pretty much perfect. Except one thing, and that is his textures. But before I talk about texturing, I want to bring up one more thing in regards to the dragon imports, and that is something to do with an exception dragon. It's only one dragon I found so far has this issue. I haven't gone through all the dragons yet, but yeah, I'm gonna talk about it anyway. So here you can see I have opened the directory for Nevin. Nevin is special in that he has his props are separate from his main mesh object. The other dragons that I've extracted so far, the props are part of the same mesh file, so they animate properly, but in this case he has two static meshes, which are his brush and palette props. They're just separate for some reason, and that causes a slight issue with animation, but I can show you how to solve it. So right quick, I'm going to just export that and open him in Blender just like I did Delbin. One moment. Okay, I've imported Nevin. As you can see, his props are missing, so we have to import those separately. These are PSKX files, they import the same way, but those are static mesh files. So now him and all of his props are imported. We're going to import an animation for him. So selecting the armature again, we're going to import his animation. I only did one for this example. Okay. And as you can see, the static mesh files for his props are not being animated. This can be solved pretty easily. You just need to add some constraints to the objects. So if I take his armature into edit mode right quick, you can see the bones that are supposed to be animating these two objects. So in his left hand here should be his palette, and this bone should be controlling it, but it isn't. So if we select that bone, we can see it's called left hand attach, which makes sense. And the same for the right hand attach, should be controlling the brush. What we want to do is we want to add an object constraint that tells this palette to be controlled by this bone. So selecting the palette, we're going to head over to object constraints over here, add object constraint, copy transforms. Now we're going to just select the armature, or we can drop down from the list, and here it wants to know the bone. We know it's called left hand attach, so we're going to select it from the list. You can search it by starting to type attach. And you'll see it kind of warps over there to the correct bone, except it's on the wrong axis, right? So to fix that, all we have to do is head into edit mode, and all the polys are selected, so leave it like this. You want to rotate it -90 degrees on its local x-axis, like this. R -90 XX. And then it should fall right into place. And we're going to do the exact same thing with the brush. Select the brush, object constraint, copy transforms, select the armature, and in this case it's the right hand attach bone. Oops. Right hand attach, edit mode, R -90 XX. And like that, the animation should be functioning as intended. None of the other dragons I've encountered so far have had this special case issue, but if you encounter it, it should be the same process. Just find out which bone should be animating the object and add a copy transforms constraint to it, as well as rotate the geometry in edit mode. And that should cover importing. Next I'll cover texturing. If you know how to texture, then you should be done here. But if you are stuck or you need tips on how to texture quickly, then that will be coming up next. Back to Delbin. Okay, to start, I like to do all this in the shading tab. It just makes everything really convenient. It has a node editor and everything right here. So, the first thing I'm going to do right off the bat is recommend that if you don't already have the node wrangler add-on enabled. It's in Blender by default. It's just not automatically enabled. It basically just will make things a lot faster here in a moment. So I just enabled that. So I'm going to select Delbin here, head over here to materials. You can also view the materials right here, but I'm used to using this side. And you'll see it's not using nodes. So you'll want to tick use nodes here or click it here. And you'll see it adds a principled shader. This is the material for the props only. And you'll want to use nodes for all of them. So use nodes for the body and for the wings. And no image files are applied just yet. So what we want to do is have, well, I can show you the slow way and I can show you the best way. So I can show you the basics of how to get these textures in and how much faster the node wrangler can make this and how much more convenient. I'm going to navigate here on this panel here just to where his textures are, and you can view all of his textures here right on the side. And you can drag and drop these straight into the node editor and plug them in. You see this is the body color. You just make sure the body material is enabled and drag it in, and you can connect it to the base color socket and so on. And you can do that for each map. You see this is the color map. You see it has the letter C, dragon body C at the end there. M is metallic, N is normals, and R will be roughness. So you can drag and drop these individually, and you can tell it what socket to be plugged into and everything, or you can have node wrangler plug everything in for you in the right space and using the right color space options automatically. And I can show you how to do that. First, I'm going to head over to his textures folder here, and you can see all the target files here. I'm going to individually rename each one of these, which sounds like it's going to take a long time, but I'm telling you it'll take a lot longer to drag and drop each file into each material and plug it into all the sockets and give it all the correct parameters. So I'll show you why I'm renaming these in a moment. Actually, I can show you now. I'm going to head over to the node wrangler add-on so you can see what this is about. You see edit tags for auto texture detection. Basically, you can tell it to automatically detect whether something is a color map or a metallic map or roughness map and normal map, which is really, really helpful. You can basically batch import the textures and they're all plugged in automatically, which is why we need to rename each of the color maps, because the tags here, for example, COL, MTL, those are like the common tags for these types of maps. And if you were to import it to the auto detect for principled BSDF setup, it will automatically plug it in properly if it's named properly. But the C in the color map and the M in the metallic map and so on is not going to cut it even if you edit the tags. So what we need to do is give it a tag that will be appropriate for that setup. So for example, here we're going to rename this one body COL because it will recognize COL. And here, TL, I'm going to add MTL to make it metalness. And if I just keep pressing tab, right, and make, instead of N, add RM, NURM, like normal map. This is a roughness map, so I'm going to add a GH, and I'm just going to do the same. And it's relatively fast once you get the muscle memory for this. COL and RM, RGH. So now these are all renamed, and I'll show you how quickly this will go. So I'm selecting the body here. What you can do to make this setup automatically, select your principled shader, press on your keyboard Control-Shift-T, and you'll want to navigate to the folder where Delbin's textures are. And you can highlight and select all of the textures for the body. You'll see Delbin Dragon Body, all 4 texture images, and say Principled Texture Setup. And just like that, all of the maps will be applied with the correct parameters, including like non-color and everything. It will be set up instantly. So we can do the same thing for the props. Just select the principled shader, Control-Shift-T, highlight all of the props materials, which are these 3, and principled shader texture setup. And there it is. Same with the wings, Control-Shift-T, and these 3 textures here. And there you have it. Looks pretty nice. One thing, of course, you can see there's no transparency going on here with the, the image should have transparent alpha, as you can see here, so that you can make this invisible. For the wings, which pretty much all of the dragons have alpha textures in the wings, it's alpha clip. And yeah, he should be set up. All of his maps should be in place in a relatively short amount of time. If you were to flat shade this boy as well, enabling texture, you should be able to see those very nice base colors. Like, just look. Oh, I love it. Okay, and that's my workflow for getting these guys set up in Blender. I'm so sorry. Now, if you have any questions about the ins and the outs of it, you can bring them to me and I can try to help you. Hopefully I already answered most of your questions, but if not, I can try to help you get unstuck. Alright, thanks for watching.